this is Mary Elaine Laponzi, editor of Lowell's First Look. I want to take a moment to talk to you about a book, Romeo and/or Juliet, a Chooseable-Path Adventure by Ryan North. This book is in the Lowell High School Library. There was a post back in July on social media that got some attention that suggested that it wasn't really appropriate for high schoolers. That post was accompanied by an image that was a drawing of a nude woman with a sexual device attached to her, and some people thought that that might be in this book. So I took the book out from the library just to take a look at what is in here. I was actually kind of surprised at how big the book was. It was much thicker, a lot more text than I thought. My initial thought as a parent is that some of the images are kind of crude. So people were concerned about sexual content. There's obviously this person's missing some clothes, but I don't know that that's a sexual image as much as a murderous image. I kind of thought that some of the stuff was a bit gross. Like, it didn't strike me as, this is high class literature. There was, like, here, people's eyes are stabbed out, which, I haven't read Romeo and Juliet since high school, but I know there was a lot of violence in it. Not violence like today's books, it's not all spelled out, but same thing with some of the sexual content in the original. But people were concerned about the fact that this had choose your own sex adventures. So it took me a little while, but I did find 2 of them. Here's one. We'll zoom on in. So here's one of the choose your own sex adventures, and it's like a Mad Libs where you fill in the blank. And the other one is back here. Same thing. It's like a Mad Lib that you're filling in. So I'm kind of a prude when it comes to what my kids read, but when I look at this, I don't think sexually explicit. I mean, there's a lot of, talk about sex in this book. They talk about Romeo having a sex ladder to go see Juliet. So the word sex is in here a lot. And that's kind of what I feel like the person who made the initial video about this book is that they had an ebook and they just searched for the word sex. And I think that's why they ended up in the back here, finding, see right here, zoom back in, Erica Moyne, who is a cartoon artist. And so these are all the illustrators, and they've all got little bios. Her bio says that she has a sex positive comic, Oh Joy sex toy. I think this might be why someone keyed in on her. Now her website's here, and her website doesn't say, anything sexual about it. But my assumption is if a child is flipping through here, I'm not sure that they would even get back to these bios, but if they did, my assumption is that they'd probably search for that rather than going to her website. But her contribution to this book is passage 220, which is right there. So it is not the nude woman that we saw on social media. I just wanted to, point that out because there was some confusion, and the person who posted that, shared that post, did clarify in the comments to one person that no, it is, that the image of the nude woman was not in the book, but I know that it confused and it concerned some people, and that is concerning because, you think that image in particular, you would wonder why on earth would that be in any book in the library. So this strikes me as kind of in the same vein as Diary of a Wimpy Kid, in that it is not exactly like the type of book that I want my children to read, but I'm not super concerned. If my 15-year-old said, hey, I'm going to read this, or I want to read this, I'd probably be like, okay, that's fine. He's old enough and I trust him enough that if he got to something that was inappropriate, he would stop. I like to think that. My 7th grader, I'd probably say, nope, not yet. And again, it's more for me, more kind of like the gross images, which are not my thing. One thing that I did like about this book is that flipping through it, I do not see any swearing, which is my personal pet peeve with books. All the swearing that's in books nowadays. If I could opt my kids out of anything, I would love to opt them out of all books that have the F word in them. So, and that's kind of one of the challenges I think that librarians are facing, especially at a public school where you have parents, and so here you go. There's another, like, these are the sorts of references to sex. So end sex scene, extremely satisfied. So, you know, whoever made this video obviously didn't like, you know, who made the video that ended up getting screenshotted and shared on social media, thought this was sexually explicit. I don't. So I think for our librarians, it's really hard because you have all sorts of different definitions of what exactly is a sexually explicit book. And then people have different concerns. Like, I'm concerned about swearing. You know, I'm concerned about, you know, like anti-religious content. You know, someone else is concerned about, you know, LGBTQ, and someone else is concerned about, you know, Harry Potter. And so I think that is what is tough for our librarians. And I'm not exactly sure how, you know, there's 75,000 books in the Lowell High School or the Lowell LAS system. So I'm not sure how we expect our librarians to read all of them. You know, my personal opinion. It's, you know, just, you know, I think that they, once something comes in, it's on the shelf, and then it only gets pulled off if it goes through a challenge process. There's no, you know, it's not like the librarian or the library staff can go in and just like yank books. And I think that, I mean, I read like 50 or 60 books a year, and I feel like I'm a pretty prolific reader. I'm not sure how our librarians and our librarian assistants go through and read all the books if they're buying 300 books at a time for the library based on bestsellers and award winners. How do they go through and read all those before they put them on the shelf? I don't think it's humanly possible. So I think that there needs to be a little bit of grace extended to those folks who are working in the library, that they are doing the best they can with the information they have. And books are different nowadays. So, you know, maybe that's something, if I were a parent, you know, 4 years ago, if I was raising this concern, to me, it seems like maybe the right way would have been to talk about, you know, do we need to change how we acquire books for the library? Does there need to be more of a committee? Does there need to be something else? But I just think posting online and posting just little snippets of books that, you know, without actually looking at the whole thing, I think that I don't know how helpful that is. And I don't know how much that furthers the discussion. It's just my opinion. There was another book that was posted online about a feminism book. I requested that from the library. It hasn't shown up yet. If this is helpful to you, I'm happy to do another video about those. You know, but anyways, there's the book. There's what it is. And you can decide for yourself, I guess, if you think that this is appropriate for high school students.